part 2 of how to make a reversible vest with ties in the back and a fake welt pocket with a little hanky on the inside. This is Professor Ratcliff. This is Camino College, and this is beginning Fashion 10 clothing construction. Okay? All right. We're on a Yuki power machine, DDL 87. Go to IDS and ask for Rosa or Elizabeth. Tell them Professor Priscy sent you because they supplied our Yuki machines and notions. Okay, so first I'm going to sew the welt pocket. I just kind of threw the pocket in, so on the first one you didn't see it. I just kind of snuck it in. When you go to proms and different things, sometimes you can't wear a purse or a bag, and you can put your money in the little pocket. Okay. Remember, we clean up as we go. We're going to put our strings over here. This is the pocket. I'm cutting off the pointed edge. Put my finger on the inside here. That's my thumb. Thumb to the corner. That's why you do want a long nail on the thumb. And then here is my pocket. And notice that my corners are square. If they're not square, take a shirt corner or a pin and put it in there. Then I am going to just do a little trim on it. Little top stitch. Slow my wheel down with my machine right here, and then I'll put a little stay stitch on top so that the fraying of the muslin is 100% cotton, and this is what we're using on the samples, but we don't want it to show, so we want to cut our little fraying off so that it doesn't show. And I am wearing black slacks, so I don't want to get up and all the notions are on it. This is going to be my little pocket hanky, and I'm going to true it, which means I'm going to even it off. If you're ever taken draping, turn it to the outside, and then just sew this little area here. I'm pulling this, and then I'm taking it back. This is another little technique so you don't have to cut off so much thread. Giving you guys all my little secret ingredients here. So we can cut it all off at the same time. Okay, and we're going to turn this to the right side. And I decided to use the brocade for the hanky, and when we sew it on, then this is the belting in the back, and we're going to sew the belting. Going to sew this part. I'm going to sew that close in. Yeah, like that. So the ends close. Never run over pins. On brocade, you want at least 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, because it does fray. Okay, make sure you back stitch it really well. This is your reversible stitch button, and did I back stitch on this? I did, but it doesn't really look like it. But I'm going to do it over, because when you turn it, those little fraying pieces will stick out. Okay. All right. So now we're going to do this one. See, I'm closing the ends so that when I turn it, it's already done. Back stitch so that it does not come loose, and give me that 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Do not sew on the edge. You need seam allowance on the edge. I'm going to take this to the end and back stitch really well so that it doesn't come apart when we get ready to sew. You want to do the same thing, cut that edge off so that when you turn it, you got a good point. All right, here is our loop turner, aka flipper. There used to be a TV show a long time ago called Flipper. And it was a dolphin. My brother used to watch it, drive me nuts. But that's why I call this the flipper, because it turns inside out. And you have to make sure that the little piece that's on the inside hooks it. See that little hook right there? And then pull it. Has to hook on that little safety catch. And then we turn it inside out. So this is the back belting. There is a notion piece that you can buy. It's a buckle. The buckle is specifically for vest. And it comes 2 in a package at Joann's or Kmart or Walmart. And I don't want to top stitch this because we do have the top stitching in black, so that you can see the seams. So I don't want to top stitch this, but I am going to have to close it because of the fraying. This is a jacquard, a silk jacquard fabric, and it does fray. So you want to close your tips so that you don't leave threads hanging from the jacquard. So know your fabrics. We've already gone over our fabrics, and students, you guys got what, 18 swatches of fabrics, and they didn't have to go shop for it. I brought the fabrics for them, and they had to write the names of the fabrics, whether they're dry cleanable or washable, hand dry, so that they are more educated with the fabrics that they use and for their clients. You want to get good clients, and you want to educate your clients on washing and dry cleaning your fabrics so they won't come back and blame you. Oh, I washed this with hot water and put Clorox in it and look what happened. You know, don't take for granted that because of people's age that they know how to take care of clothes. Believe me. They'll blame it on you so they can get a refund. So make sure you cover all your bases, and you can get my other book on business and fashion, or doesn't necessarily have to be fashion, but just business, so you'll know how to handle that. Notice how I'm truing it so that it's nice and even. So here are our beltings, and I want to clean off my table right now. Got a lot of stuff going on before I go. Because sewing does get a little tedious over here. Seam allowance. This is the front of the vest. Forward, back stitch, forward. And then I'm going to stop right here. And I'm going to slide in my belting. I want this part to be visible, and notice it's right in the middle of my dart, my notch, sorry. And I might want to tie it. Okay, so I'm going to go over it. I'm going to back stitch so that it's over really good, just in case I tie it tight. I don't want it to come loose. So anytime you begin, you back stitch. Anytime you end, you back stitch, so that your clothes don't open. Now you see that? Looks really good. What you do for one side, you do for the other side. Okay? Turn this way. And the little belting piece attaches this way. Or you can just tie the knot. You want to make sure that it's on the same side. We have a notch on one side and we have a notch on the other side, and it's in the middle of the notch. Okay? forward, back stitch. Don't run over that pin. Forward, back stitch. I want to see that belting in the back. Forward, back stitch. Okay, make sure you put enough thread hanging in the back. And it doesn't matter which piece is the front or the back unless you did something different. But we finished the front, and now I want to put my little pocket on. It'll be the right side. Do we have lefties? If you have lefties, maybe you want to put it on the left side. I'm ambidextrous, so it doesn't matter. Okay, so my pocket is kind of long. It's gonna go up this way. Do I want the green? I think I want the green to show rather than the black. So it's gonna go up this way. So it is a little long. Cut it off a little. Make sure I true it. Just a little off. And try it first. This is my pocket. I sew it this way. I fold it up this way. It is a little close to this edge right here. So I might want to move it over. Okay. All right. Now we're doing everything freehand. We made our own pattern. So you can take your measurements and make your own pattern. Make sure you backstitch in the same spot. Okay. And here we go. And what you make small, you can make large. So you make the small one, you want to, you know, knock out all your imperfections so that when you make the large one, it works. All right. Now we're going to raise this up. And I'm just going to sew on the edge. It is in black so that I can see the stitch. But when I get ready to sew my large one, I'm going to make sure that all my fabric my thread matches my fabric. Because I'm going to wear that. Okay. And see my stitches on the edge. And you want, when you're, you know, just starting out, you want to be able to see your stitches so that you can learn to manipulate the machine and sew straight. Okay? Cut all of those threads off. We don't want any threads while we're sewing. So here's my little welt pocket. Where's my other little piece? Did it fall? Here's my other little piece. We did a triangle last time, and this time we're just going to do the other one that matches in the pocket. Okay, so we've prepped, and we can sew it down. Here's the back, and now we're going to put the other piece together, which is this one. So this is the front of our vest. And this is the lining of our vest. So if you want to use lining material, we just use muslin. If you want to have this 100% polyester, you can have that with the belting. We're just using the same fabric. I like my things to be kind of tall and sturdy. And I'm not really a good fan of polyester. So I want to put my fabric for the back. Those of you who maybe perspire a lot, or maybe you have another shirt on the inside, and it's cold if you live in the Midwest, or if you're like we have in our class, it's freezing in the classroom, you may want that extra protection. This fabric is also used for costume and theatrics. It lasts a very long time. It is dry cleanable. We mixed it with the muslin, which is 100% cotton, and I line all of my clothes with muslin because it lasts longer. Okay, so if you look at this side and this side, this one is a little off, so we need to true it. Okay, that one's perfect. This one's perfect. So this is the right side. Right sides go together, right? So then we take this and turn it to the right side to match that one. Fold this one over. Fold this over so that we don't sew it. And now, everything that you learned in the beginning sewing, this is our last sample. Seams go together, right?
Right.
And they're open. Thank you. One student heard me. Thank you, John. So open the railroad tracks so that the train could go down the railroad track. If they're closed, I'm taking off. This is our last piece, so I'm taking off 4 points if your railroad tracks are open or closed. All right, so we're going to pin them open first. That's the first thing that you do. You open your seams. You would have been pressed this by now, but for the sake of time, we're not pressing. I'm opening my seams, and you use your seam allowance first. So this is the underarm seam. Okay, pin that first. Go to the other side and pin that underarm seam. Open your seams. And this is so too if you lose weight and you want to take your vest in, it actually you would just pull the ties. So if you lose like more than 20 pounds, then yeah, you take it up at this seam. Another thing that you could do is put a seam down the back. We're doing a simple vest. Okay, so this is going to be your circle. Remember when you did the round circle? So this is your circle, and remember you slash around the circle, but you do not slash the railroad tracks. Okay, this is the back neck, so that's a circle as well, and this is a circle. So now we pin everything around, and I'm not going to pin the whole thing. It's together. So by this time you should be able to know how to sew straight. Now we're going to leave this little piece open because we're going to turn it inside out. So you need a piece to leave open. But right now we are going to go on a journey. We're coming from Los Angeles and we're taking the 10 freeway to Houston. So this is Los Angeles, right here at this spot, okay? This is the 10 freeway, and this is the way we're going. We stop here, back stitch, leave the shoulders open. And now we're going through Arkansas. Going all around to Arkansas, stop, back stitch. Don't sew the shoulder. Then we're going around to New Mexico. Back stitch, left New Mexico, we're going to Georgia. We're going to Texas, y'all. So I think next would be Arizona. Back stitch, forward, go all around, back stitch, stop. Go over, that stop was a rest stop, we're getting gas. Go over, and then we're in El Paso. El Paso, there's a fork. Straight, then a fork. Then we're going around and we're in Houston. We stop. Okay? So this is exactly what I'm doing. Give your 1/2 inch seam allowance. Look in the back to make sure that your railroad tracks, your seams are open in the back as they are in the front. Take your pins out and put your finger over here. Back stitch. Put your pieces together. And remember, I need that 1/2 inch seam allowance. Stop. Turn. Press the foot down. Even it off. Make sure these 2 slices of bread are together. And we are at the fork. This is the fork of the road. So I want my vest to go here and then go down. So you need to turn it so that it's face down. Now I gotta make sure also that I am not running over my pocket. So let me push my pocket down. And I'm not sewing my pocket, okay? Forward, back stitch, forward, okay? Now I'm taking this off and I'm not cutting it. Pick up this technique and you'll have less problems with your bobbin. Okay, I'm finished with this, so I'm gonna put this over here. And now where I picked up, do not sew on the edge. Give me that 1/4 of an inch seam allowance I need. Because remember, the same space between here for the top has to be the same space between here. Okay, make sure that I'm not sewing my pocket. Make sure it's out of the way. And now I'm doing my curve. Curve it on around. I'm going across the railroad track, and I am sewing with a different type of foot. This is actually the zipper foot. Notice how I'm in that curve. Back stitch, over, turn, pull the thread out of the way, because you want the same amount of space here that you have here. Okay, it's got to match. So this is a good fail-safe. Put it on top to make sure that it's even, because you don't want your shoulders not even. Okay. Yes. C'est bon. C'est bon. It's good. It's good. Okay, now this curve, I'm going to hold my machine wheel so that I can turn really good. Have a good turn. Y'all see that? That was smooth. Walk it on around. Make sure I got it down there. Back stitch it really good. Smooth. Take it out. Bring it back on around. We're almost done. Wait till you guys see this. Now to make sure that this is right, I'm looking over here, it's right. And I got a curve again. So you got to control this machine. This is a Lamborghini. When you get ready to turn that corner, walk it over. Look at my right hand turn, my left hand turning. It's turning. Walk it around. Make sure you got a good turn. You guys did the circle one, and you did about 20 circles. So everything that you did prepares you for this one. Back stitch really good. Okay. Now I want to make sure that this matches this. So I'm looking, that's 1/4 of an inch. Make sure you test yourself. You don't want to turn it inside out and then it doesn't fit. Now remember, we're going back to the fork again. Maybe La Tijera. La Tijera is scissors. La Tijera, you guys know what La Tijera Street is? So it goes like this, which means scissors in Spanish. So we're going to the fork. Stop. Turn it. And we have another one, right? Yes. Turn it. Let this go. Make sure you do not drop any pins in here. Most of you will have basted this before you get to the machine. We don't want to drop any pins in our motor. And notice I'm moving my threads out of the way, because if you sew on the threads, it's hard to undo them. Now I'm going back to my pin, so we're in Houston, and now we're back in LA. I'm gonna leave this open so that I can turn it inside out. I can put my hand in here. Now we have less threads to cut, and they're all connected, which makes it easy. That's the first one. Cut those threads. You don't want to see them on the inside. One person, I think it's Brista, that wanted to do lace. And lace is a little bit more harder to sew because it has openings. So you need to master sewing the fabric first. Okay, this is a corner, so we have to cut this. Don't cut the thread. Just cut the corner and leave about 1/8 of an inch over. You don't really have to cut that one. But we're cutting here. And then remember the curves, we have to slash. Don't, when we turn it to the right side, it's all buckly, like you need braces on your teeth or something. So don't cut the thread that you've sewn. And you really just need to cut the corners because that's where the curve is. Cut the curve. And I notice on this one, I'm real close to the edge. So it's going to fray. So I need to turn that, go a little closer. Oh, it is, thank you. Did pretty good the whole time without having to thread the machine. Might have to get my piece of white thread. So we have a piece of white just paper, and if we put the paper behind it, it's easy to thread. We can see it better. And so that's why we have that little white piece of paper here. And you could use a needle threader. It just will take you longer. Okay. So these are some of my little secrets. You don't need to backstitch. So you make sure when you're looking, before you turn your vest, that you have clipped all the edges, the turns. I kind of don't like leaving in there, but you can see the teeth, that it looks like that on that side and on this side. And make the slices really small, because when you turn it to the inside, it's going to bulk. Okay, this side is done. And I'm going to cut it. I usually like to cut it with the larger scissors, because when you cut with the nippers, and this one is on the edge too. So I gotta sew this one as well. I'm kind of holding it. So this is checking our vest to make sure when we did that curve that we have both sides. Okay? Checking it. This is a curve, so we have to slash the tires. Don't literally do that. But you remember what I said. Slash the tires in the circle. Let me check both sides. Yep. Both sides are sewn. So every curve, slash the tires. Make your dentures in that curve so that when you turn it to the right side, you don't have any buckling. Okay, so we've done that. See our teeth and see how straight it goes. Okay, wake up, my door. Close. So now it's time to turn. Okay, so this side looks exactly the same as this side. Make sure we have no threads hanging. Make sure. Now what I'm going to do is slide through here, slide my fingers through here, and turn this to the right side. This would look so cute on a little puppy. My son has Rottweiler, so anything you put on a Rottweiler gonna get towed up. He has Pits and Rottweilers. 7. They're all trained too. But if you put some clothes on them, it's gonna get tore up. They chew everything in sight. This is gonna look so magical. So voila! I'm glad I put the John talked me into putting the jacquard loom fabric on the front. Remember, I was just gonna do one side. That pin isn't like really sturdy. There we go. There we go. Make it neat, y'all. We don't want anything looking homemade. We want a professional look. N'est-ce pas? N'est-ce pas? Isn't it? Isn't it? Yeah. C'est bon. C'est bon is it's good in French. We want it to look good. Okay. Pull those corners out. If you have a collar turner or shirt turner, you can use it to point, but make sure you have points. And then remember, we have this little fork in the road, so when you press it, make sure that you have that little fork going on right there. Turn this down. We have this, and this is going to be our back. Okay, that's our back. And if you put it together this way, here is your shoulders. Okay, so these are our shoulders. See how nice and we haven't even used an iron, and it comes out really nice when you sew it the way I showed you. So now, how do we get, and we can put to the back, we can put like 2 little buttons and sew this together, but there are belt hoops and there's a belt buckle that you can buy, and you turn it this way and sew it down this way, and the buckle hangs on both sides. So either way, button holes, however you want to do it. Okay, so how do we put these two together? I have seen some students just sew this straight across and leave this hanging open like this. I'm gonna knock y'all out. Punch, give you a sucker punch. So how do we sew it? From the same way we did this. Remember, we have this opening. So you have to fold it this way. Make sure that this is pressed because you want the corners open, right? Put them together like this. Go up underneath. If I put both fingers in here. Oh, wow. And tuck it under. Stick it in between that. See? Stick it in between. Pull it here. And now you got 2 pieces of bread with caviar on the inside. So I'm going to pull it taller so you can see. Look, this is the front piece and this is the back piece. This is one shoulder in between. So now we're going to pull it so that it's even across. Make sure that it's not bulky. You want that sandwich to lay flat. Okay, and then we're going to use that 4th of a seam allowance and sew it. Sew it straight across. Forward, back stitch, forward, back stitch, forward. Okay, take it out. Cut the threads. It's going to be hard to get back in there. And voila. Look how even that is across there. And look how even it looks. Whatever looks on the outside, it looks on the inside. So you could reverse it. And then this is the outside because you have the pocket there. But look how even that looks. Okay, I'm going to lay it down so that you can see it. I probably should have put the little pocket here, but anyway. All right, now we're going to do the other side the same way. See bon? Okay. All right. Now I'm going to do the same thing with my finger, but I'm holding this tight so that it won't be twisted. So make sure that it's the right way. So now I'm going to tuck it under, like back in the hole. Okay? And then pull it out. Sure. So here's my caviar. It's straight. Now I'm going to stick it back down in there. And then turn it to make sure it's fitting in there. Now it did come apart right here on that end, so I got to sew that back together. Remember I said the material does fray, so that's why I'm back stitching a lot, so that it does, so that it doesn't fray. But remember, when I backstitched on the same line. Thank you. See? Oh, and this is the shirt pointer to make sure that you have the squares. So now I'm going to straighten it out again. And it seems like that it's a little fat, like it's too wide on this side. So I'm going, because I really had to narrow the other piece down. So I'm going to have to sew this piece down so that it will match. Okay, because the other part frayed a lot. Okay, so now I'm going to have to even it off. So I'm telling you things that happen so that you can make sure that yours does the same thing. You know, that you know what to do in that instance. And it's just truing it. It's just evening it off so that both shoulders match. Okay. Now we have it a little smaller. So now we're going to stick it back down in it. We're done, y'all, as soon as we do this. So hopefully you videotaped it. If you did not, then Catherine will do a YouTube on my YouTube channel. Priscy's, is it Priscy's House of Design? Mm-hmm. Priscy's House of Design, Priscys, House, House, of OF Design, DESIGN, Inc.com. And see if it's even. Still looks a little large. We had to do it on both sides. So it's still not even. Remember what we do on one side, we gotta do on the other side. So we gotta true it on this side as well. This is a little tedious, and you should at least charge a minimum of $100 for a vest. I mean a minimum. That does not include the fabric. Because this is a mini one, but a large one is kind of double trouble. because you have to put the buttons on it, or the notion. Some people want chains, and some people want it distressed, and you know, cargo. All of that takes a little longer to do. So you charge for your time. Don't, you know, sometimes little dreams turn into nightmares because you have more issues with it. People keep adding things. You add, you charge. You know, this is what we started out in the beginning, and then you charge, and that's okay that you changed your mind, because that's more money for me. You know, we don't work for free. So, you know, labor is worth its hire. You want to make sure that you're paid so that you would want to do it again. Did we run out of bobbin? At the last second. Oh, no, it just came loose. Yeah, if you don't charge enough, and especially if the client really loves your work, they will come back. They will give you more work to do. So you just want to make sure that you give them the perfection each time. So, you know, make sure that you do a good job, and they'll come back and they'll send their friends. But if you don't charge enough, then you're going to feel, I did all of this work, and this is all, I won't even pay one bill, you know? So make sure you charge enough. You've spent good time with me here in summer, and you finished over 100 samples. So you're worthy of your craft. All right. This one, just a little puckle, just a little one, but we can press it out. Okay. Here is our little puppy. It looks so good. And we're gonna put this in here. We didn't put our seam across here. You don't, remember, this is jacquard, so if you don't put that seam across, and you can't overlock the ends, they'll fray. This is the time you would use seam binding, those of you who have the seam binding, and put that seam binding on here because it will fray. It makes it look good. And the only thing we have to do is close the little hole. And you can do that by hand if you like, or you can do it by machine, but we're going to make sure that when we do it that the fabric, the thread is the same. Remember, but I'm not going to close it up because I want you to be able to turn it inside out so that you can see what's up. Okay. Okay? And this is our shirt pointer to make sure that our ends are done. And we're going to close this over like this. Now, and so this is our back. And this is our front. And this is a lined or reversible vest with the welt pocket with the hanky that has belting at the back. Professor Ratcliff, Fashion 10, Clothing Construction, El Camino College, and if you want me to make one, I will, or any of my 18 students. Peace.